A minute of listening, a lifetime of understanding. Have you ever wondered what really happens inside a nursing home? Is it truly the safe, comfortable place people believe it to be? Or are there hidden realities no one talks about? If the day comes when you or a loved one must enter a nursing home, are you sure you know the full truth before making that decision? Many older adults move into nursing homes expecting convenience, care, and peace of mind. But what if reality is different from what you imagined? Losing independence, unexpected costs, overwhelming loneliness. These factors can change your life in ways you never expected. Today, meet Eleanor, an 82-year-old woman who has firsthand experience with the hidden struggles of nursing home life. Her story reveals shocking truths that everyone needs to hear before making one of the biggest decisions of their later years. Stay tuned. This could change everything you thought you knew. Number 1. Losing independence in daily life. When Eleanor decided to move into a nursing home, she believed it would offer her a simpler, stress-free life, where she wouldn't have to worry about household chores or taking care of herself. However, from the very first days, she quickly realized that the reality was far different from what she had imagined. At first, the changes seemed small. Eleanor could no longer decide when to eat, when to sleep, or when to take a walk. If she wanted to go outside for fresh air, she had to wait for a staff member to be available to assist her. Simple tasks like getting dressed, taking a shower, or even organizing her belongings were no longer under her control. Slowly, she felt herself losing grip on the basic freedoms she had always taken for granted. The most difficult part was the feeling of complete dependence on others. Eleanor remembered her old home, where she could wake up at her own pace, make a cup of tea, read a book in the morning, or go for a walk whenever she pleased. But in the nursing home, every small decision followed a strict schedule. Staff members couldn't cater to individual preferences, so everything was arranged for efficiency, not personal comfort. Beyond the emotional frustration, losing independence also had a significant impact on Eleanor's physical health. She used to walk around her neighborhood, shop for small items, and stay active, keeping her body flexible. But in the nursing home, she found herself moving less and sitting more, waiting for assistance instead of doing things herself. This caused her muscles to weaken, her mobility to decline, and her body to feel slower and less capable. I felt like I was becoming invisible in my own life, Eleanor admitted. I wasn't making decisions anymore, and that made me feel smaller and less important than ever before. The psychological impact of losing independence became overwhelming. Eleanor realized that when people lose control over their own lives, their confidence and motivation start to fade. Having to rely on others for even the smallest tasks made her feel like a burden, leading her to withdraw from social activities and experience a growing sense of sadness and disconnection. What Eleanor wants everyone to understand is that losing independence isn't just about missing personal freedom. It deeply affects mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. Before making the decision to move into a nursing home, it's crucial to consider ways to maintain a sense of autonomy, even in the smallest aspects of daily life. Number 2. The real cost of nursing home care. When Eleanor first moved into a nursing home, she assumed the cost would be straightforward, a fixed monthly fee covering everything she needed. But very quickly, she discovered that the financial reality was far more complicated and costly than she had expected. At first, everything seemed reasonable. The advertised price included basic room and board, meals, and general care. However, as time went on, Eleanor and her family began to notice additional fees piling up, many of which weren't clearly explained up front. There were extra charges for everything, Eleanor recalled. If I needed help getting dressed or additional assistance with mobility, there was a fee. If I required medication management, that was another cost. Even therapy sessions weren't included in the base price. These seemingly small add-ons quickly added up, turning what appeared to be a predictable monthly expense into an overwhelming financial burden. What many families don't realize is that nursing home costs can spiral out of control, leaving loved ones scrambling to cover unexpected expenses. Eleanor's daughter was shocked when she saw the bills. She thought insurance would cover most of it, but that wasn't the case, Eleanor explained. We ended up paying far more out of pocket than we ever expected. Beyond the standard care costs, there were also hidden daily expenses that many families fail to consider. My daughter had to pay for things like extra clothing, hygiene products, and even transportation fees when she visited me, Eleanor said. It wasn't just about affording the nursing home itself. It was about all the little expenses that came with it. But perhaps the most difficult cost wasn't financial. It was emotional. Eleanor saw the stress and worry in her daughter's eyes as she struggled to manage the growing expenses. The pressure of balancing financial responsibilities while ensuring her mother received proper care became an emotional weight on the entire family. I started feeling guilty, Eleanor admitted. I didn't want to be a financial burden, but there was nothing I could do. It made me question if I had made the right decision in moving here. Eleanor's experience is a warning to others. The true cost of a nursing home goes far beyond the monthly fee. Families need to carefully research what is included, what additional services cost, and how much insurance will actually cover before making such an important decision. Her advice: don't just look at the advertised price. Ask for a full breakdown of potential costs, and be prepared for unexpected expenses. The financial strain of a nursing home can be much higher than you think. Number 3. The mental and emotional toll of nursing home life. When Eleanor moved into a nursing home, she expected a place where she could feel comfortable, cared for, and surrounded by people. However, what she didn't anticipate was the profound emotional and mental impact of living in a facility that, despite being full of people, often felt incredibly lonely. At first, Eleanor tried to stay positive. She thought she would make new friends and enjoy the social aspect of communal living. But reality quickly set in. You don't realize how isolating it can be until you're sitting in your room, day after day, with no one to talk to, Eleanor admitted. One of the biggest emotional struggles she faced was the lack of deep, meaningful connections. Many residents, including Eleanor, hoped to bond with others, but she soon found that it wasn't as easy as she had imagined. Most of the people around me were dealing with their own health issues or were too tired to socialize, she explained. Some days, she felt invisible, like she was just another resident in a sea of people, rather than an individual with a lifetime of experiences and stories to share. Even when the nursing home staff was kind and attentive, it wasn't the same as having close relationships. The brief interactions with caregivers felt transactional, focused on daily tasks rather than genuine companionship. No one really had time to just sit and talk, Eleanor said. It felt like I was missing something essential: human connection. As time went on, the sense of isolation took a serious toll on her mental health. She found herself feeling increasingly unmotivated. The days blurred together, she said. I started feeling like I was fading away, like my presence didn't really matter. The loneliness led to increased anxiety and even mild depression. Without regular stimulation, intellectually and emotionally, Eleanor felt herself withdrawing more and more. There were no spontaneous conversations, no surprises, no real sense of purpose. It was as if life had slowed down too much, leaving her feeling disconnected from the world outside. What Eleanor wants others to understand is that being surrounded by people doesn't always mean feeling connected. Nursing homes can provide physical care, but they often fail to address the deep emotional needs of residents. Her message to those considering a nursing home is clear. Don't underestimate the emotional toll of losing your daily interactions with friends, family, and community. Before making this decision, think about how you will maintain your social and emotional well-being. Loneliness is real, and it can affect your health just as much as any physical condition. Number 4. The importance of researching nursing homes before choosing one. When Eleanor decided to move into a nursing home, she thought it would be a simple decision. She assumed that as long as the facility looked clean, well-maintained, and had good reviews, it would be a suitable place to live. However, she quickly learned that appearances can be deceiving, and choosing a nursing home without thorough research can lead to unexpected problems. At first, Eleanor was impressed by the facility she chose. During her initial visit, everything seemed organized, the staff was friendly, and the common areas looked bright and welcoming. But after moving in, she began to notice things she hadn't considered before. Staff members seemed overworked. Residents often waited long for assistance, and the sense of community she expected wasn't as strong as she had hoped. I made the mistake of thinking that all nursing homes were the same, Eleanor admitted. I thought as long as it looked nice, everything would be fine. But there's so much more to it than that. She soon realized that a single visit wasn't enough to truly understand what life inside the nursing home was like. She wished she had visited multiple times at different hours, not just during scheduled tours when everything was presented in the best possible light. It's easy to be impressed when you visit at peak hours, but what about late at night or on weekends? That's when you really see how well a place is run. Another major lesson Eleanor learned was the importance of asking the right questions. She hadn't thought to ask about the staff-to-resident ratio, assuming there would always be enough caregivers. However, after moving in, she found that staff members were often stretched thin, making it difficult for them to provide personal attention to each resident. There were times when I needed help, and I had to wait for what felt like hours, Eleanor said. Not because the staff didn't care, but because there simply weren't enough of them. She also realized that the qualifications and training of the staff matter just as much as the number of caregivers available. Are they experienced in senior care? Do they understand how to handle medical needs, mobility issues, or emotional support for the elderly? These are critical questions that families should ask before choosing a facility. Beyond staff concerns, Eleanor advised paying attention to the overall atmosphere. Is the environment warm and welcoming, or does it feel cold and institutional? Are there activities that encourage social interaction, or do residents seem disengaged? These small details can make a huge difference in quality of life. Her final advice: don't just go by brochures or websites. Talk to current residents, ask families about their experiences, and visit at different times of the day. The decision you make will impact your quality of life. So take the time to find a place where you'll be treated with dignity and respect. Number 5. The caregiver shortage. What you need to know: when Eleanor moved into a nursing home, she expected to receive consistent care and support from the staff. However, one of the biggest shocks she experienced was the severe shortage of caregivers, a reality that had a direct impact on her daily life. At first, Eleanor didn't notice the problem. During the initial weeks, staff members were kind and attentive, helping her settle into the new environment. But as time passed, she realized that there simply weren't enough caregivers to meet everyone's needs efficiently. There were days when I had to wait hours just to get help getting out of bed or going to the bathroom, Eleanor recalled. I felt guilty asking for assistance because I knew the staff was already overwhelmed. The shortage of caregivers wasn't just an inconvenience. It had serious consequences. Residents who needed frequent medical attention often had to wait longer than they should. Eleanor noticed that some of her fellow residents, particularly those with mobility issues, struggled to get the care they needed in time. It's not that the staff didn't care. They were just stretched too thin. She saw caregivers running from room to room, trying to assist multiple residents at once, unable to give proper attention to anyone. One of the hardest moments for Eleanor was when she needed immediate help but had no choice but to wait. One night, I felt dizzy and needed assistance standing up. I pressed the call button, expecting someone to come right away, but no one came for nearly 30 minutes. She later learned that only a handful of caregivers were on duty that night, responsible for dozens of residents. Beyond the physical challenges, the lack of staff also affected the emotional well-being of residents. Many older adults, including Eleanor, longed for companionship and someone to talk to. But with caregivers constantly rushing from one task to another, there was little time for personal interaction. The caregivers weren't just my helpers. They were often the only people I had real conversations with. But they were always in a hurry, so interactions felt rushed and impersonal. Eleanor wants people to understand that a nursing home's ability to provide quality care depends heavily on its staffing levels. If there aren't enough caregivers, residents don't just lose convenience, they lose dignity, timely medical attention, and emotional support. Her advice: before choosing a nursing home, ask about staff-to-resident ratios. Visit at different times of the day to see if caregivers are overwhelmed. If there aren't enough staff members, the quality of care will suffer no matter how nice the facility looks. Number 6. The lack of personalized care. When Eleanor moved into a nursing home, she expected to receive individualized care tailored to her needs. After all, she had spent her entire life making choices about her own health and daily routine. But she quickly realized that in a nursing home, personalized care is often overlooked in favor of efficiency and standardized procedures. At first, Eleanor didn't think much of the rigid routines. She understood that staff had many residents to care for and that things needed to be organized. But as the weeks passed, she began to feel like just another name on a long list rather than a person with unique needs and preferences. I wasn't treated as Eleanor. I was treated as a patient to be processed, she recalled. Everything was done according to the nursing home schedule, not based on what I actually needed or wanted. One of the biggest frustrations Eleanor faced was the lack of flexibility in her daily care. Meals were served at set times, whether she was hungry or not. Bathing and hygiene routines were scheduled, even if she preferred a different time. Medication was given out the same way for everyone, with little room for individual preferences or adjustments. There were days when I wanted to sleep in, but I was woken up early because it was time for breakfast. Other days, I wasn't feeling well and wanted to eat later, but meals were only served at specific hours. Beyond the daily schedule, medical care also felt impersonal. Eleanor needed specific physical therapy exercises to maintain her mobility, but because the staff had to assist so many residents, she often received only the most basic level of attention. The lack of personalized care wasn't just frustrating, it affected her physical and emotional well-being. Eleanor found herself feeling more like a burden than an individual with her own preferences and needs. I started feeling like my personal choices didn't matter anymore. I wasn't just losing my independence, I was losing my identity. Eleanor's advice to others? Before choosing a nursing home, ask about how individualized care is handled. Find out if residents have flexibility in their schedules and if staff take the time to understand personal preferences. No one should feel like just another patient in a system that values efficiency over dignity. Number 7. Alternatives to nursing homes you should consider after experiencing the challenges of nursing home life. Eleanor realized that it might not be the best choice for everyone. The loss of independence, emotional toll, hidden costs, and lack of personalized care made her question if there were better alternatives that could provide the support she needed while still allowing her to maintain a sense of control over her life. I didn't want to feel like a prisoner in my own life, Eleanor said. I wanted to feel in control again and have a say in my daily routine. Determined to find a better solution, Eleanor explored different care options, and she was surprised to discover that there were several alternatives to nursing homes that could meet her needs. Number 1. Home care. Staying independent with support. One of the first alternatives Eleanor considered was home care, where professional caregivers provide personalized assistance in the comfort of one's own home. I realized I could hire someone to help me at home, and that felt like a game changer, Eleanor said. With home care, she was able to remain in her familiar environment while still receiving the support she needed for daily activities like bathing, meal preparation, and medication management. The best part was that I could still make my own decisions, when to eat, when to go outside, and how to spend my day, without being restricted by a nursing home schedule. Number 2. Senior living communities. Independence with support. Another alternative Eleanor found appealing was senior living communities, where older adults live in private apartments while having access to support services and social activities. It wasn't like a nursing home at all. It felt like a real community, Eleanor shared. These communities offer social interaction, group activities, and a sense of independence, while still providing assistance when needed. Eleanor discovered that in these environments, she could stay active, meet people, and still have access to healthcare services, without feeling isolated or dependent on strict schedules. A nursing home may be an option, but it is not the only path. As the story of Eleanor, an 82-year-old woman, shows, life in a nursing home is not always as peaceful as many might believe. The loss of independence, high costs, loneliness, and lack of personalized care can leave you feeling trapped in an unfamiliar place where you no longer have control over your own life. But at home, You can still enjoy the simple yet meaningful moments, opening your window to feel the morning sunlight, making your favorite cup of tea, walking down a familiar street, tending to your small garden, or chatting with friendly neighbors. You can decide what to eat, when to sleep, who to see, and what brings you joy, without waiting for permission from anyone. Of course, not everyone can care for themselves forever, but have you ever considered alternatives to nursing homes, home care services, senior living communities, or living with family? These options can allow you to keep your independence, stay connected, and enjoy life on your own terms. Are you worried about life in a nursing home? What concerns you the most? Losing your independence, feeling lonely, or the financial burden? If you've ever considered moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you truly willing to trade your freedom for convenience? Are you ready to give up your favorite routines just to follow a strict schedule in an unfamiliar place? Where are you from? Share your thoughts on nursing homes in the comments below.